Welcome to The Final Bell, a national sports discussion show where we tackle the hottest topics in all of sports. I'm your host, Femi Abebefe, alongside Sean Church and Corey Colbo. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
I'm doing fantastic, Femi.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And you know what? I'm doing pretty well as well.
How are you? How are you doing today?
I'm glad you guys both asked.
Okay.
It makes up for it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm doing so well is because it is February. Football is over, but whatever. Pitchers and catchers have now reported to spring training. Baseball, break open the Cracker Jacks because we're doing it now. And an important pitcher, let's start off right off the bat. Seattle, 206. King Felix Hernandez, cha-ching, raked in a 7-year, $175 million contract with the Seattle Mariners. So what I want to know is, King Felix Hernandez, the former Cy Young winner, worth the money? Sean, start us off.
Oh, absolutely. I think this was a great move by the Mariners. Felix Hernandez brings in the most people in the stadium. You see every fifth day that he pitches, more people come to the stadium. Even when the Mariners are 10, 15 games under 500, he is going to bring in massive crowds. The King's Court is the best place to be.
It is.
It's just a great move on his part, and he deserves the money he's been getting paid.
Oh, I totally agree with Sean. I think it's a good signing, but like you worry about his elbow. They brought it up in his contract. CC has like a similar kind of thing written in his contract that they kind of like stipulate if he has like follows these like kind of like stat accomplishments, like he throws like 160 innings or something, or if he like spends less than like 45 days on the DL, he gets a certain amount of money. So I mean, it's a good deal for the Mariners. I think it's bigger for the franchise just because the Mariners have the horrible like horrible image of being like a farm system for all the big spending teams, and the Mariners try to like change that image this offseason by trying to be aggressive, trying to make deals, trying to sign star players. So I mean, it's a good thing for them too. That's
excellent. And he is a phenomenal pitcher. You know, the King's Court, everyone goes in their yellow shirts and they're representing, and he's phenomenal just to watch on the mound. But with signing Felix Hernandez, does this not allow them to go out and get other guys? I mean, we've seen that the Mariners aren't usually one of the big spenders. I mean, they did it this offseason. But can they go out and get other guys? Can they build around him?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, like I said earlier, I think the signing is more of kind of like a statement signing, just the fact that they're willing to spend money on the good players. They're not going to just like kind of hoard it and just develop their like through the draft, or mainly through the draft, but they're willing to spend.
Yeah, they definitely have the money to spend. It's just not the fact that they wouldn't spend it. It was a number of things. Many big bats were reluctant to go to Seattle because of the fences, how hard it's to hit in the Pacific Northwest. And they're moving in the fences, and so more people are going to want to come to Seattle and play. It's not like it was. I mean, it was tough to get big-name players to come here because you saw the productions of Richie Sexson and Adrian Beltre, as far as offensively is concerned, go down. So people were more reluctant to stay away from Seattle, but I think that's going to change now. And they do have the money to spend, and they've always had the money to spend. I think this is all going to change it now, and I think they're making a thing.
So like last season, it was just a really cold spring, summer for like the Seattle. So like their numbers are like affected by that because the ball doesn't carry as well when it's cold out. Yes. So I mean, like I expect there'll be an uptick in moving the fences into helps too.
He's being paid. He's the highest paid pitcher. Is he the best pitcher in baseball?
Oh, I wouldn't say the best one. I think he's top 5 for sure. Maybe top 3.
You know, I won't go on record and say he's definitely the best, but you can make a strong argument that he is. There's no. It's not like in basketball. LeBron James consensus, I would say, best player in the NBA. I wouldn't say he's the best pitcher on the record right this second, but you could make a strong argument that he is. But I wouldn't say anybody is
definitively the best.
Exactly. I think that they all have their own attributes, but you can make a great argument that Felix Hernandez is the top pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, he's certainly in the conversation. And going from the best pitcher, let's just go to the entire best pitching staff. I want to know who is the best pitching, or which team has the best pitching staff in the majors.
So I got to say, like we were talking about really good pitchers, I got to say the Tigers. Verlander at the top. I think he's the best pitcher in the league right now. I think he had a good season last year, winning MVP, and he's one of the very few. Actually, he didn't win MVP, did he?
A couple seasons ago.
Yeah, two seasons ago he won it.
Wasn't Cabrera last season?
Yes,
same team.
But he's in the running though.
Yeah, he's in the running. I think Verlander, Pfister, as we know, was really good.
Yeah.
Scherzer, Rick Porcello, and Anibal Sanchez, I think that's a really, really strong 5-deep rotation.
I would have to go with the Phillies still. I mean, not still. Last year kind of showed that they had struggled a little bit. But just when you have Holiday, Lee, and Hamels at your top 3, which they'd be number ones on most teams, and having them there's your top 3 pitchers, I don't even care who's your 4th or 5th pitcher. Those 3 are great pitchers. Lee had a struggling season last year, but you know what? It wasn't all his fault. He got terrible run support. As far as the pitching staff is concerned, those 3 all have contention of actually winning the Cy Young every year. I think they're the best pitching staff in baseball.
Yeah, and I guess to even go off of that, when you have 3 guys in the postseason, you could really only use 3 if you wanted to, and really it's just lights out if you face Philadelphia. But the Tigers with Verlander, he's just dominant as we see them continued success with him at the helm. But going with those guys, I want to now move forward to the teams in general. Which team won the offseason?
I think it's a lot of people will agree with me with this one, but I would definitely have to say the Toronto Marlins. Pretty much using one club to just take away their entire
personal farm system.
Oh, definitely. They were the old Kansas City A's of the 1950s and 60s with the New York Yankees. They just took their entire team and just loaded them onto the other side, north of the border. I think they did a great job. They're finally relevant for the first time in about 10, 15 years. In the AL East, when you got teams like the Yankees and Red Sox who've been dominating for so long, we thought the Blue Jays would maybe make that run, and then all of a sudden here come the Rays, and they come up, and they actually make it to the World Series, win a division a couple years. Orioles make the playoffs for the first time in 15 years last year. Toronto Blue Jays they were picked to be last. They had a great offseason. Now they proved that and I think that the AL West is the best in division in baseball until the Toronto Blue Jays made all this offseason work. I think the AL East has taken that now, and I think they win the crown for best offseason.
See, I agree with you, Sean. I think their GM saw an opportunity to win the East. Since the Yankees are having troubles, they're not spending as much money as they used to. The Red Sox are kind of just rebuilding through free agency, and they're kind of trying to find their image. And like the Orioles, I kind of thought they overachieved a lot since their pitching staff is not great, but I agree. I think the Blue Jays did such a good job. But I want to point out the Rays for making their trade for the Kansas City, sending James Shields and I can't think of who the other guy, but for Will Myers, who is probably one of the better prospects out there.
Yes.
And the Rays survived on only drafting prospects or these type of trades where they trade their established starters for good up and coming players.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but are the Blue Jays going to have that success in the season? Because we saw Miami last season; they kind of won the offseason a little bit, and they bottomed out. So, do you think that these offseason moves that the Blue Jays have made can that propel them to winning the East and challenging for the pennant?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have to worry about clubhouse chemistry and that kind of stuff when you do these kind of big trades, or you're importing a lot of new players for the team, but I think since they don't have Ozzie Guillen as their manager, I think they're going to be already way ahead on that one. But I think if they get a good vibe going, I think they can do well.
Well, baseball's a funny sport. I mean, sometimes chemistry will just fit together well, and you'll win 9,500 games. And sometimes, as you saw in Miami, it doesn't, and they lose almost 100 games. So, I don't know. Time will tell. You can't tell the future until you actually pitch the baseball on the first day.
Yeah.
So as far as now is concerned, Toronto Marlins, I keep calling them Toronto Marlins because that is most of their team, won the offseason as far as I'm concerned. I will not change my attitude even if they do bad, because I feel like as of right now they did the most in order to actually be successful in the AL East. So
I think another thing to think about is the pressure of the trade. The trade puts so much pressure on that team, like a team that kind of hasn't done anything in 15, 20 years.
They're not used to that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have them have pressure than to not do anything at all, which they had not done anything at all as far as the last few years were concerned. So, even their best player, Batista, coming out of nowhere, honestly. I mean, he was always a great player with the Pirates, but he
never really got a chance.
He never really got a chance. So it wasn't like they made a huge trade in order to get him, but
and neither of you guys mentioned the Angels. They got the big fish in Josh Hamilton this offseason. Where do you think they fall into this whole equation?
Well, I would say that last year they they won the offseason last year as well. You could say the Marlins won it, but you could make a strong argument that the Angels won it. You know, with all the signings of Wilson and then Pujols and stuff, and they end up winning. I mean, 86, 87 games when everyone was predicting them to win 100, 105 games. So landing a big player as in Josh Hamilton, which was a great signing by the Angels, does not necessarily mean that's going to add 10 or 15 wins because everyone thought that's what was going to be the case with Pujols, and it didn't. So I'm not sure if that's the case. I think it was there's definitely an argument made towards them, but I don't think they beat out the Blue Jays because Blue Jays just got more people, you know, not just one big player.
So I think the one thing to think about for the Angels is that Torrey Hunter had a phenomenal year. He, by far, one of his best seasons, and the value that he brought to the team, I think, is more or less nullified by having Josh Hamilton there. But I think they're going to be about the same. I don't think they're going to do any better.
That's good stuff. We are going more forward with the baseball as we continue on going toward opening day. But we have to go to the break right now. But when we come back, we'll be discussing Michael Vick and how will the Bulls do without Derrick Rose if they continue to go without Derrick Rose. But first, we want to hear from you guys about, is Felix Hernandez worth the money? We'll be back with the final bell.
Well, he's good, but is he that good?
I definitely think that he's worth the money. He's the marquee player now that Ichiro's left.
I don't really think it was worth the money. I think that we made that decision based off him pitching a perfect game last season, and he's making something like $20,000 a pitch. I don't necessarily think that we should be spending money on him. I think we should be investing more in younger players.
In today's market, it's kind of the going rate, but you don't know. I don't know all the details of it, so I don't know how much of it's guaranteed. I don't know what's involved as far as performance and those type of things. I mean, just when you hear something like that, it's still a sticker shock to anything. So, yes or no? I'd say no. Pitchers aren't worth that kind of money, especially this long into their career.
I guess he's worth it if they feel it's right.
Welcome back to the final bell, where we are discussing the hottest topics in all of sports, which leads us to Michael Vick. We talked about him last episode about being on the most disliked athletes list, but now he is getting some love from the Philadelphia Eagles front office. Maybe. Kinda, sorta. They decided to retain him. I'm sure Chip Kelly had a lot to do with that, but they restructured his contract. Now it's a one-year deal, about roughly worth about $8 million, maybe up to $10 million if he's able to reach some of the incentives there. But what I want to know, did they make the right move in keeping Michael Vick? Corey?
Yeah, I think so. I think Mike Vick can potentially be someone that could do Chip Kelly's system. I don't really know why he agreed to restructuring his contract. He'd get paid for at least one thing. You're not going to be in the league forever, but I mean, it shows he's a team player, I guess, to a certain extent, and that they have no one else to QB for them.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe Michael Vick. We talked about last week. He's a changed man. I believe he's definitely about the team. I think it's a great move keeping him here. I mean, $10 million, that's still a lot of money for 1 year, but with that being said, he's a veteran guy. Chip Kelly's offense, I mean, it's probably, I think it had something to do with, you're right, with Chip Kelly. I mean, if it was still Andy Reid, I don't think he'd still be there. But with that being said, I think it was a good move. I really do. He can only bring, I think he'll bring good, leadership to the table. And if they want to part ways, they can just part ways after 1 year. But and it's not like that's the only problem in Philadelphia.
Oh, there's lots of other things.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about you don't know why he did. Do you think he could have started anywhere else than Philadelphia, or had a legitimate chance? Because it sounds like there's a legitimate competition here that they have.
I don't think he'd get started anywhere other than Philadelphia. I think, but I don't know. I think they need to focus more on their offensive line than anything, because I think a good line will help Mike Vick out, and Chip Kelly's system uses a lot of running linemen and running guards to run out to block and stuff like that. So I mean, I think that'd be a good point to start with instead of Mike Vick.
I think he could start somewhere else. I'm not saying by any means that means he's going to start over half the teams or even a third of the teams. But I do think there are a handful of teams out there that maybe could maybe use them as a shot, maybe like Jaguars or Browns, teams that
Buffalo.
change
Yeah,
Buffalo.
I was thinking Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo. These teams that that are a little that are struggling a little bit and maybe just want to change up a little bit. Yes, they have to change up the offense because Michael Vick's not a pocket passer, even though he proved he could be a pocket passer a little more than he was, but he still is a running quarterback. With that being said, he's lost so many fumbles in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know if people want to chance that, but with that being said, I think teams would still take their chance at him, definitely.
So I think like if Buffalo still had like Chan Gailey, I think they would have definitely taken a shot at him. They got Vince Young last year, and they tried to work him in, but Vince Young, so it's not going to work. But
I think there's an attitude difference though between Vince Young.
Huge.
And
Michael Vick. He's way more mature than Vince Young.
I mean, even though this whole the dogfighting scandal and stuff, he's way more mature than Vince Young.
He's seen the light and like the way the league works.
Definitely
Vince Young has not seen the light, which is why he is now in the darkness and out of the league. Throwing $300,000 parties. But that discussion for another day. And so what do you think that this does to the value of the other quarterbacks that possibly could hit the open market? Say an Alex Smith, a Matt Flynn. Does this raise their value since now Vick, who was, I guess, one of the bigger pieces, he kind of fell and is going back to Philadelphia? Do you think that other guys now are warranting higher draft picks for trades and higher money?
Well, I would definitely say that this rookie class has definitely hurt these quarterbacks such as Alex Smith, Matt Flynn, and Michael Vick, because they just came out and did so well right at the start. But, I mean, who knows if we're going to see that again. The rookie class of quarterbacks doing that well from the start, it's
rare.
It's rare, and it's almost, I mean, even Kaepernick, who's not a rookie, but he's second year, is all of a sudden doing so well. We don't know if that's necessarily going to happen again so quickly. So, I don't know, a guy like Michael Vick, you still might want to go with him with his veteran leadership, knows the offense. And so, yes, it might help out a guy like, well, actually, Matt Flynn, maybe it might hurt him a little bit, but like a guy like Alex Smith, who's obviously proven he can win with a good team. I mean, is Alex Smith going to go out there and just dominate? No. But can he win with a team that's good behind him, good running back, kind of a just don't mess up kind of.
Game manager, for lack of a better term.
Kind of what used to be, kind of what we want, what the teams like the Seahawks and the Colts wanted the quarterbacks to be, even though they end up exceeding expectations.
That might just be you want to start your rookie, you don't want him to have all the expectations of the world. You want to just publicly say, oh, he's going to be a game manager. Right. We're going to keep things a little low, a little chill.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess moving on to a guy who may not be sticking with his team, Josh Smith, forward for the Atlanta Hawks. There are rumors swirling right before the NBA trade deadline about the Hawks and GM Danny Ferry possibly moving him elsewhere. So do you guys think that this would be a good move for the Atlanta Hawks to ultimately trade Josh Smith and I guess kind of blow up their team?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. If you definitely want to blow up your team, great move. Getting rid of a terrible contract. I mean, honestly, I think Josh Smith is a good player, but worth the money that he's getting paid, questionable. But if it's the fact that they want to get better now, no. That's kind of stupid because Josh Smith is not worth the money he's getting paid as far as I'm concerned, but he's definitely not a bad player. And so I think if you are looking at it, though, as blowing up the franchise, good move because they're trying to look at it like how the Thunder have done it, how they just got rid of contracts. Thunder, formerly known as Seattle Supersonics, got rid of contracts and just were on the bottom of the NBA for about 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden make their way up. They make the playoffs, 8 seed. Then they're 4 seed. Then they're 2 seed. Now they're like arguably the best team in the NBA now, and so that's what they're trying to do, I think. And if they are trying to do that, good move. But if they're trying to get better right away, terrible move.
So, I mean, if they want to get better right away, they would have kept Joe Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just a signal that they're trying to blow the team up. I think if they're trying to get the most value, they got to trade him now. They're not going to sign him and then try to trade him because no one will want his contract. Yeah. But I think if they trade him to the Spurs or I think I saw the Bobcats want him to. I think I would go for the Bobcats over the Spurs because they have a lot of young talent, and they'll probably have another high draft pick, too. So, I mean, you can kind of probably hook them.
Hook, line, sinker.
Yeah.
I guess moving forward to another NBA team, the Chicago Bulls. Surprisingly, they have been doing very well and are the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, rumors came out, not really rumors, Derrick Rose
direct
came
quote,
out, a direct quote from Derrick Rose. He came out and said that he is, quote-unquote, far away from making a return. You know, we've seen him do some of the contact stuff in practice. He warms up before games sometimes even. So it came a little bit as a shock. So what I want to know, do you think the Chicago Bulls can make a deep playoff run without Derrick Rose being 100% healthy? Corey?
I don't know about deep, but I would say they'll make the playoffs. But I think if they run into like the Heat or one of those top 2 teams, I don't know if they can withstand that, like the scoring at least. The defense will hold up because Tom Thibodeau is really good on defense, especially. But we don't know what kind of Derrick Rose will get to. I mean, he says he's not that close, but I mean, he could be trying to weigh like expectations lowering the expectations.
Yeah.
Or he's just not sure himself, I think.
Yeah, he may be saying not close, just not get everybody's hopes up so quickly. But I do not think that they will go that far in the playoffs. I agree that last year was different, that was a shock losing Derrick Rose so early on in the playoffs. But they ended up losing to the Sixers. And so, like, right off the bat, they lost to the Sixers. Sixers, solid team, probably one of the better ace seeds. But I can't see them going as far as the Bulls are concerned. I can't see them going farther than the semifinals. If they run into teams like the Heat, the Pacers, the Rondo-less Celtics, who are apparently better without him. Yeah. I can't see them really not only losing, but let alone competing, really. I can only see those games going 4 or 5 games. Yes, they have Luol Deng and Joakim Noah and Taj Gibson, but the guard play is a little
I kind of just see them more like right now, kind of just maintaining. They're not really doing anything like overly exciting or like anything.
Is it because the East is just so weak?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yes, the West has always been better. I mean, yes, 1 or 2 teams maybe in the East is better than the West, but as far as the whole conference
as far as depth, yeah.
The West has been the top conference for a while, and there's a reason why teams that get in the playoffs will win 35, 36 games and get in as an 8 seed in the East, and they won't even beat a top 11 or 12 in the Western Conference. So
there's like a 10 game difference for wins for the 8th seed in the West and the 8th seed in the East.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. I mean, teams will get in the 8th seed in the West, winning 47 games, where like I said, the East.
Like say like if the Blazers were in the East, they'd be like the 2nd seed or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That is terrible. And that also leads us to our next break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about Olympic wrestling. Looks like it's going away. Also, NBA All-Star Weekend coming up this weekend. But first, before we go to the break, we want to hear from you guys. Did the Eagles make the right move by keeping Michael Vick? We'll be back with the final bell.
I think it was a good move.
Because of Michael Vick's tarnished past, they're probably getting a bargain, and he has that connection to the Eagles that probably makes it a good fit for him, personality-wise.
He's a running quarterback. That's what he wants. He wants someone who has, the command of the game and experience, and who's mobile. So it seems like it's something that's going to be able to be, on paper, a good fit.
I don't like that. I mean, wrestling is, it's one of the main events. I mean, it's like a tradition. I don't know, I kind of like to keep the Olympics somewhat Greek, I mean. So, yeah, I kind of wish they'd keep it in, because, I don't know, it kind of completes the experience.
Oh, I think cutting wrestling is a bad decision. I mean, it's sort of a traditional Greek sport, and getting rid of that in exchange for something else that's more modern and flashy is like having, Latin mass in sort of this, 4/4 tempo, like everybody's going, hey, I'm happy today. You just don't want to have that happen.
I think there's some things you just need to have some pillars and fundamentals of sport and history, and I think wrestling is one of the fundamental Olympic sports, and from what I understand, what they're replacing with is just something kind of new, and I think there's always place for innovation and change, but sometimes I think you need to have just certain aspects of things. I think you're right, so she knows too, so I think I'd say no. Is that what you're saying? You're saying no too. Oh, you're saying yeah, so she likes it, I'm saying no. There you go.
Always good to hear from the voice of the people, as they were very opinionated about the IOC taking away wrestling from the Olympics. Now I want to know your guys' opinion. What was your reaction, first of all, from the Olympic Committee taking away wrestling from the Olympics starting in the 2020 games? Sean?
A little shocking. I mean, for me, not the biggest wrestling fan. I've never really watched a whole lot of it on the Olympics, but I do have knowledge that this is one of the first events ever. Even when you go back to like Mount, Greece and like when they first started.
Yeah.
And this was one of the first events. I mean, it's one of the most obvious events too.
So
I
you
mean,
don't really need anything to do it.
Yeah, and and the reasoning behind it was just a little questionable too. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was I feel like you got competitions like trampoline and badminton and
Ping pong.
Ping pong.
Equestrian.
Yeah.
You could go.
Yeah.
Don't hop on the
you really could go down the line with it.
Speed walking. I mean, these ones that it's like, oh well, no question, we're gonna keep these. But wrestling, let's take this out. I think it's kind of stupid and really, honestly, really shocking. Didn't think that was even a topic of getting rid of the Olympics.
Yeah. Kind of came out of left field.
Yeah.
Corey.
Meh. I mean, like, I don't really care a whole lot about wrestling, but like my main things for the Olympics are gymnastics and swimming. Everything else is like, okay, cool. But I mean, like, if they're dropping a sport, I think they should pick up another sport to take its place. I'm rooting for some lingerie football going in the Olympics. 2024.
Corey wants lingerie. I mean, can you imagine if they did that in Rio?
This is a family show, Femi.
It is a family show.
I regret breaking that up.
I was drawing my pen. That's how excited I am.
Take a breather, Femi. Calm down.
Woosah. In all seriousness, do you think the Olympics, do they think they have way too many events as is? Because it's something that, I mean, like, who even knows? What are there, 60, 70 events that go on? Like, I feel like as a fan, as someone who watches it on TV, I would be more interested had there been like 10 events or something,
I think they can like advertise it as just being a full range of like there are 60 events. I mean, like you can have random things like ping pong or like you said equestrian stuff. It's a good thing to like kind of just I guess showcase your sport to the world that like a lot of the Olympic sports aren't really that big because I mean they got rid of basketball, baseball's not there anymore, and they don't even do soccer. Oh, yeah, they do soccer.
Yeah, soccer's there.
But I mean like what else is there like any like main sports?
Well, I mean, I think it's fine. Honestly, I think that having all these sports and that's nothing against equestrian, trampoline, badminton, speed walking. It's just like, if you're going to get rid of wrestling, then why keep those ones? If you're going to get rid of wrestling, then I would get rid of all the other ones. But I like seeing all the sports. I like seeing all the talents of everybody around the world. I think it's fun to watch. Doesn't mean I'm going to watch all of them. At the same time,
I've been inside my house for like 16 days straight.
Watching the Olympics.
But I do know people who really prefer to watch, like, what is it, Pilates or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, something. I mean, that one is definitely not in the Olympics, Pilates, but it might be. I don't know.
Hot yoga, 2028.
So, Olympic Committee, we have suggestions for you on what you should add.
I feel like we should just be the IOC. But no.
Yeah.
That's something. That's maybe later. We'll get into that. Maybe
We'll do like a special feature.
10, 12 years down the road. Moving on to something that I hope they never take away. NBA All-Star Weekend this upcoming weekend. It's starting to lose a little bit of luster, but as an NBA fan, like myself, I usually watch it all the time because I have nothing better to do with my life. But what I want to know from you guys, why isn't the NBA All-Star Weekend bigger like it used to be?
I think you think about like the Olympics in the early 90s. I think the Dream Team brought the Olympics and brought basketball at the Olympics back. I think having the lack of like star players, like known quantities, hurts the All-Star Weekend. But I mean, it doesn't take away from like the event itself because like even this year there aren't any big names, but like Terrence Ross will be good, Joe Green will be good, and like a couple other people that aren't known quantities, but they're really good. They'll showcase their talent, I guess, to try to help the NBA out somehow.
Yeah, I think it's the stars, definitely. You look at the first ever dunk contest in the NBA. Dr. J was in it. Larry Nance ended up winning it. Dr. J was in it. Michael Jordan against Dominique Wilkinson dunk contest. Larry Bird wins the first three-point contests. I mean, these are Hall of Famers right there that are actually participating in these events. But hearing Gerald Green, who is a great dunker, but That's it.
cupcake
I mean,
He's not box office.
no, he's not.
He's not.
He's not. I don't hear like, oh, Gerald Green's dunking. I mean, as a like average fan. I mean, if you're a diehard NBA fan,
You know his ability.
But they're trying to get the average fans, the ones that are tweeners. Like, oh, am I going to watch? Am I going to watch the NBA All-Star break, or am I going to watch the President's Day marathon on History Channel?
I'm asking questions.
Yeah. I'm kind of wanting to switch between both myself. But the average
you already have them both DVR'd.
Yeah, I do. The picture-in-picture is there. But as far as the average fan is concerned, they need to get those pull, and the stars are going to pull them in. And right now, they're not pulling them in because there's no stars.
You know what I think? I think it needs LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron, if
I
you ever
still
see
think he's doing
this,
it.
how much money would you guys pay to see LeBron James in the dunk contest?
I'd pay to go there and see it live if LeBron was there.
If someone could pay my plane ticket and hotel fee, I'd pay the ticket to get into the building.
Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely.
And moving on and finishing with the NBA, we always finish with a goodie, some sort of crazy franchise doing something weird. That's how we do it at the final bell. Ding! The Golden State Warriors, for some odd reason, have thought it would be a good idea to switch up their uniforms. Their uniforms are not the average uniform. You may see the average tank top showing off the muscular build of the average NBA player. These are uniforms that happen to have sleeves on them. They look like volleyball uniforms. So what I want to know is, what do you guys make of these new Golden State Warrior uniforms?
A little questionable, just like we just had the last few weeks with the Jaguars.
The logos.
We've been talking a lot about clothing the last couple weeks.
Hey, we're stylish. Look at the way we're dressed.
Oh, yeah,
We may not be wearing a tie, but I think we're doing
The next
pretty well.
best thing,
Yeah, but I mean, I think I don't really know what to say about it. It makes me think it's the old San Francisco Warriors of the '60s. It's like Wilt Chamberlain could come out and start playing, because when you see the jerseys how they are, they look like shirts that were worn, like college teams used to wear, back in the day. That shirt jerseys. They're supposed to not just be shirts. I mean, they're supposed to be new, innovative jerseys that are lighter. I don't know how.
I don't know what's so innovative about it.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's more like Under Armour or something.
I don't know. Every team's trying to come up with a new thing that's going to help them, and I don't know. I think that's their way of doing it, and I guess we'll see. I've seen weirder things, but I've definitely seen a lot more normal things than that. So.
I mean, it puts the Warriors out there. I mean, it's a decent PR move, if anything, because people don't really, I guess, like when you think of the NBA, you don't think of the Golden State Warriors.
That's the last team you think of.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, it's a decent PR move. Personally, I think they look like the Australian women's basketball, like national basketball team.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, or like volleyball. But I guess it's cool. I mean. And I'm not going to go run out and buy one.
They're so skin tight. It was what makes me a little. I'm like, why? Like, can you imagine if they were to trade for like Glenn Big Baby Davis or something?
Yeah.
Like, how's he gonna look in the uni?
Well, that's their goal, is to not get him. I mean, they're going to try to get people.
We need athletic people here.
Yeah, exactly.
We need people who will look good in these uniforms.
Like you get a big boy in those uniforms.
It's fashion first, man. That's the NBA now.
Oh no, they should get Glenn Big Baby and have him wear one that's like 2 sizes too small.
Yeah,
no.
You got to show off the gut.
Oh
yeah,
no,
definitely.
he'd be looking like Chance Warmack, the Alabama offensive guard.
Yes.
So it's like Andre Smith running at the combine without a shirt on.
Oh no,
man.
that's a sight that I never want to see ever in my life.
Get away from my mind.
Burned in my mind.
We'll actually all go out and get them and wear them in the next episode.
Oh yeah.
That concludes the final bell. Always good to hear from the voice of the people, and always good to speak with you, gentlemen. We always have a blast up here at this desk.
It's a great time.
It's a
good time.
It's a phenomenal time. With that said, we will see you guys next week on The Final Bell.